history of Scotland, which I shall now perform for you now. Does somebody have a timer or clock so we can get a rough timing? Sir, will you help me out there? Much appreciated. Tell me when to go.
Oh.
320 million years ago, Scotland was down on the equator. Things were hot and toasty. There were volcanoes, there were jungles. Would have been like the Lion King, except there was no Elton John, so no epic Lion King theme tunes. But this didn't last for very long. Scotland was on a tectonic plate which was moving up north. So you had all your volcanoes that slowly cooled down to form tough volcanic basalt plugs. Very, very hard mountains, basically. You also had a lot of water, which eventually cooled down to form glaciers. Now these glaciers drifted across the landscape and got forced to split into two by the mountains. So you had the glaciers split in two by the mountains, and they moved past the mountains and also past the soft rock just lying directly behind the mountains. So the glaciers moving around the mountain and this rock. And this formed what is commonly known as a crag and tail formation. We are currently standing on a crag and tail formation. The Royal Mile is the tail, and the crag is the mountain. Everybody with me so far? That's a crag and tail formation, which we can see today. Right now, Scotland is located at 56 degrees north, which is the same level as Moscow, which explains a lot of the similar weather patterns. So, moving on from the history of the land to the history of the people. There were once 4 tribes in Scotland. We had the Scots, who were not from Scotland, but from Ireland. Things occasionally are very confusing up here in Scotland. We had the Scots from Ireland, and we had the Picts, who were in fact from Scotland. We then had the Norse, who were from Norway. Where are my Norwegians? They're over here, wonderful. Norse from Norway, and then finally we had the Britons, who were from Wales, down round by England. Now these 4 tribes, they fought a lot. Then they started to drink, decided, hey, that daughter of the Pict King is quite pretty, and they all started marrying off. So you have the 4 tribes all combining together to form a Scottish kingdom. This was all fine. They fought off the weather and the English, their greatest enemy, until 1296, when Edward I ran in and he conquered Scotland. But the Scots were not going to take this lying down. They were completely determined to free their country. So they all rose up underneath William Wallace. William Wallace, also known as Mel Gibson. I'm sure a lot of you will have watched the film Braveheart. This is the character this is all based under. Sadly, William Wallace fell in the line of duty, but his standard was taken up by Robert the Bruce, who won Scotland's independence for it in 1314. The independence of Scotland was officially recognised by England in 1328. This is all fine. We had a separate Scotland and a separate England all the way until 1603, when Scotland conquered England! But this did not happen because of crossbows or cannonballs, no military equipment like that. Scotland conquered England because of a coronation. Elizabeth I, I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of. One of the common nicknames for Elizabeth I was the Virgin Queen. Naturally enough, she didn't have any heirs. Her closest relative was James VI of Scotland, who moved down into Westminster and was crowned James I of England. So you had the sort of unofficial union between the two countries. The official union happened in 1707, after the Act of Union was written down in 1706. So this meant Scotland lost its parliament, but was formally united with England to form the United Kingdom. They came up with a new flag, the Union Jack, which is a combination of the Cross of St. Andrew and the Cross of St. George, the 2 patron saints of the 2 countries. Now, the Union was pretty good from Scotland from another perspective. They may have lost their parliament, but they did manage to gain all the sort of glories and riches of the British Empire. This meant that Edinburgh went from being a medieval backwater town to being the centre of the Scottish Enlightenment. So we had a whole bunch of poets, writers, philosophers running about Edinburgh. All got a bit crowded, and the rich people didn't like this very much. So they decided to build a whole new town, which we are going to quickly go into at the end of the tour. So, as you can see, Edinburgh, Scotland, very, very dramatic place. And I'm going to tell you more about the drama when we head over to the America Cross in just a second. But first, roughly how long was that? I think it might have been
4 minutes, 27 seconds.